Hello everyone, this is Lavanya from YourPedia, and today we are going to learn everything you need to learn about writing task 2 in IELTS. Also, specifically about the different question types you will encounter in it. Okay, so get ready with your pens and pencils because this is going to be a very informative lecture. The first thing is that we need to build up a base for writing task. What actually comes in writing task? It is an essay. So, in total, for your writing module in IELTS, you will have two different tasks. The first is report writing, and the second is essay. And in total, to do both of them, you will be given 1 hour. So in the 1 hour, you devote 40 minutes to write your essay and 20 minutes to write your report. Why? Because report has less of value as compared to your essay. Also, make sure that while you're writing your essay, in the 40 minutes, you plan it very carefully. 5 minutes should be spent and devoted to planning the essay. And after that, you will write explain at least for 30 minutes. You can spend that as 5 minutes for rereading whatever you have written. It is very important that you actually pay attention to how well you plan it out and how well you write it. After that, you need to make sure that you write at least 250 words. 250 words is the minimum limit. You can definitely exceed it by however much you want to. You can even write 500 words if you want to. But as I said before, you only have 40 minutes to do this task. Thus, you need to make sure that you do not, exceed the word limit by so much that you're not even able to finish it. In IELTS, it's more about the quality of the content than the quantity. So make sure that your quality is perfect. After that, you need to know that your IELTS writing will be tested on four different aspects. The first one is task achievement, and which is the basic module and the major crux of what this video is all about. It is about understanding different question types and then knowing how you're going to answer them. Task achievement is all about how well you answer the question that is given. So you need to understand that if they're asking for an opinion, then you need to give an opinion. Do not write anything extra, anything that was not asked for. Because unlike what you wrote in school time, these essays are supposed to be very cryptic. They are supposed to be very to the point. They are not supposed to go all over the place and only beat around the bush. The second part of your test will be about vocabulary. So you need to use a variety of words for the same thing over and over again. You should have a wide range of vocabulary, specifically for words such as children or parents or teachers, because these are the topics where most of the questions are based on. So just revise a few synonyms, cram them if you want to, and then make them, a part of your essay as soon as possible. You need to practice this. This is very important. After that comes coherence and grammatical accuracy. So coherence and grammatical accuracy kind of go hand in hand, because for coherence you have to use adjectives such as furthermore, in addition to, or moreover, and they need to be used correctly. That is part of grammatical accuracy. Grammatical accuracy means you need to use the right tenses, you need to use the articles properly. Things like that really make a difference, and that is, as you can see, to half of your grade. Okay, so you'll be tested on four different aspects, and each of them will be 1/4 of your grade. Make sure that you actually understand all of them and then implement them in your essay. Now, if you have to look at a sample question for IELTS, it would be something like this. Some people believe that technology had made man more social. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? This is a sample question that we can see in IELTS. Obviously, you will not see the same exact question in IELTS anytime soon. Now, what you must have noticed is that this question is definitely very different from those topics that you used to get in school. In school, when you had to write an essay, you used to get one word topic: water pollution, overpopulation, India as a country. And that you had the freedom to write whatever you wanted to regarding that topic. Anything worked, the causes, the problems, anything. But in questions for IELTS, they want a specific answer. As in, if you look at this question, they want to know to what extent do you agree that people have become more social because of technology. If you talk about the benefits of technology in this, it will not be regarded as a good answer. If you talk about how people were very antisocial because of some other aspects aside from technology, it will also not make a good answer. You need to make sure you're only talking about the correlation between key things: people, technology, and how friendly or social they are in their everyday lives because of it. Okay, so if you deviate from this topic in any way, you will be losing a lot of points. Now, the question arises is that in IELTS, we notice a lot of different types of questions. For example, just take this one. They are asking you to agree or disagree with this opinion. Many students are confused. Do they include only points in agreement? Do they also have to disagree with the statement even if they don't? How do they actually frame their essay? So now today we are going to focus on different question types you will encounter in IELTS and how you have to frame your answer for that. Now, in this, make sure that you take a note of all the different situation types and just write it down that okay, in this one I have to do this, in this one I have to do this, because it is very important that you answer it correctly and in the way that is expected. So the first question types and the most common one that is noticed in IELTS is opinion essay. In opinion essays, they ask you for your opinion. That is obviously a given. Now, in the opinion, it can be framed in any way. Do you agree or disagree with the statement? To what extent do you agree or disagree with the statement? Even things like positive and negative development. Is there ABC is a statement, and then they're asking, well, does it have benefits? Do you think it has any demerits? Things like that, where they're using the pronoun you. That means they want your own input in it. There are many times they ask you a direct opinion too. They'll give you an XYZ statement and they say, what is your opinion on this? For all of these questions, the way you frame your answer depends on how you think, what your opinion is on that specific matter. So if we take a look at a sample question, for example, this one. In Britain, when someone gets old, they often go to live in a home with other old people where there are nurses to look after them. Sometimes the government has to pay for this care. Till this stage, it is just a statement. This is not a question. They are just building up the background. Then the question is, who do you think should pay for this care? The government or the family? Now, this is the major question. Why should government or the family, first of all, who should pay for it? And second of all, why should they do it? That is what they're asking. You have complete freedom on which side you want to go, or if you want to go 50-50. It all depends on what you think and what you have the best arguments for. So if you have to frame an answer for this, make sure that you first of all decide what your opinion is. If you say that only government should be responsible for taking care of the elderly people, you need to prove that in your points in your body paragraph. So once you've decided that, okay, this is my opinion, I'm going for a 100% government approach, or maybe you're going for a 50-50% approach, that yes, government should also contribute and the people, as in the children of the elderly people, they should also contribute. In that case, you need to add on, first of all, that yes, they should be doing it. That should be included in your introduction itself, that this is your opinion. Be very straightforward to it. Do not beat around the bush. After that, when you're writing your body paragraph, you have to explain why they should do it. Okay, so make sure your opinion is clear and that you state it in your introduction and body paragraphs. The essay should only include what is asked in the question. So for example, in this, if they're asking who should pay for the condition, you have to just explain who should and why they should. That is it. That is your body paragraph. But if you include things like what are the difficulties that old people, encounter while they are in daycare centers, or how difficult it is for people to pay, or what kind of different facilities there are in old homemade centers, those kind of things, they're not even asked in the question. So if you write or devote a whole paragraph to that, you will be losing your marks. Okay, so make sure you only first of all state what your opinion is, and after that you actually add on why do you think that is so. Okay, so in this, it can go anyway. If you're going for a 50-50 approach, one paragraph will be about why government should be paying it, another would be about how people should be paying it. And then in your conclusion, you can include things like how it will work out, how will the contribution be physically possible, how will you make it, how it can be implemented in real life. If you're going for 100% that only government should pay it, then you should write 2 body paragraphs, and in that you have to add 1 point and explain it clearly why they should, and maybe give an example from your own experience. Do not add on 6 or 7 points and not even explain them. That is not how you will ever in any case frame an IELTS essay. You only need 4 to 5 points in a whole essay for anything, for any type of essay. Okay, what you need is good explanation and good examples to concrete that point. So for opinion essay, just make sure that you have a straightforward opinion. You state it in your introduction. Then you base your body paragraphs on what is asked in the question directly. And then you also include your opinion in the conclusion. That is how you always answer an opinion essay. No matter what they're asking, to what extent you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. If you are in complete 100% agreement, you only need to include the agreement part in it. You don't need to add on 6 or 7 points and not even explain them. That is not how you will ever in any case frame an IELTS essay. You only need 4 to 5 points in a whole essay for anything, for any type of essay. Okay, so make sure you only You do not need to include the disagreement part in it. You do not need to include any negative impacts on it, nothing like that. Just state your opinion. That's all it matters. Then the second type of essay is a discussion essay. As the word says, you're going to discuss something in this. So when you're going to discuss, it's not a debate. You're definitely going to actually converse about both the points or both the opinions that are stated in the question. Thus, in discussion essays, you are going to discuss both the views and then give your own opinion. A question for a discussion essay would look something like this. Some people think that government should provide free education at every level. However, some say that individuals should pay for their university education. Discuss both views and give your opinion. This is a major question. This was just a sample statement, or that you can see the background statement, information that was given to us. That do you think government should pay for free education? While there are some people who actually say that we should pay for our university education from our own pockets. Now, in this case, you need to discuss both the views. Also, one paragraph needs to be given to each of the view, why individuals should pay and why government should pay. And after only that, you have to give your opinion about it. Now, we have already discussed that you need to give both the views. It is compulsory, there is no choice in that. Okay. Now, while you're stating your opinion, first of all, do it in the introduction. Introduction should and must always include your opinion, your thesis statement. It should be there. But while you're doing so, how do you actually structure out your essay? There are two ways you can do that. There are two opinions, and you're only going to agree with one, right? Or maybe you have a 50-50 approach. In that case, it is pretty easy. You can just include it in your conclusions. But if you have a 70-30 approach, as in you 70% agree, 30% disagree, or vice versa, or maybe you have a 100% approach, then in that case, you need to figure out how you're going to structure it. Now, for this, there are two ways you can do. First is you write the one that you disagree with, right? And then you write the one that you agree with. In the same way, you can also start with the one that you agree with and then the one that you disagree with. For students who are confused about how they should go on about this, I'll give you a very clear way how you do it. For those who are very good at planning, as in those 5 minutes that you spend planning, and you can structure your essay really well, as in no matter how much pressure you're on, you always make sure your body paragraph 1 and 2 are of the same length. Okay, that is, you can actually write all of your opinions, all of your points coherently and precisely in the essay and in the exam. In that case, I would suggest that you go with this approach. First start with disagreement and then agreement. Why? Because it is easy to do so, and it will be easy for you to state your opinion in that case. So just start with they're talking, maybe you are in agreement that okay, government should pay, but yeah, people can pay too. So start your essay, write the introduction, and start your first body paragraph with something like, to begin with, people definitely should have a choice in how they want to pay for it, and they should feel more responsible about it, or whatever your points are. Include that. Then after that, contradict it. However, government is responsible for paying for the education, as it is a human right to educate yourself and all that stuff. Now, once you start like this, it will make it easy for you while you're ending that paragraph about the government paying, saying, and that is why I agree with this, and that is why I feel like government should definitely pay for it. Okay, so using that statement makes it very easy for you to state your opinion. That is why, for those who are really good at planning out their essay and are really good at time management, should go for this approach. But in practical life, what happens is that many of us are not good with time management. Our first body paragraph is always longer than the second one, because while we're writing the second one, we run out of time. If you're one of those students, I would strongly suggest always go with the one that you agree first and then go with the one that you disagree with. Okay, because whatever your opinion is, whatever point that you agree with, should have at least 1 or 2 lines written more than the other one. It should look like, okay, you have more points for this, and these are solid points, and that is why you agree with it. That is the reason why you need to make sure that you write the agreement first and then the disagreement one. Okay, for these ones, you can just start with, to begin with, these are the advantages of paying, of government paying our fees. But however, obviously there are certain merits to people paying for their own fees too. Government has a lot of financial burden already. To add this on would actually impact the quality of education that is being given in the institution. It might even increase the competition that is there. And you can then give examples maybe of IITs and NITs and how difficult the competitive exams are. Anything like that will work. Okay, so in that case, you will not contradict your opinion. You will just say, however, obviously, because each coin has a flip side, there are certain merits to people paying for their own education too. That is how it will be written. For if you're going for an agreement and then disagreement case, you need to make sure, definitely make sure that in your conclusion you restate what your opinion was. Say that you are more in favor of government paying for the education, and or whatever your opinion is, it should be mentioned in the conclusion. It is compulsory. Okay, so this is how we are going to go about our discussion essays. Now next part is a multi-part essay. These type of essays are easy but also difficult, because they're easy because they're very straightforward. They'll ask you a question and then maybe another question. But they are difficult because sometimes students do deviate from answering that question and they answer something else completely, as in you misunderstand the question. So in this case, first of all, you need to realize that this is very different from an opinion or discussion essay. They are not asking about your opinion, they are asking about a factual information. Whenever a pronoun, that is you, what is your opinion, that kind of thing is missing, it means that it's a multi-part factual essay. They want answers from you that are facts, that are not dependent on just a person's perspective. So a sample question would be something like this: why is shopping so popular? What effects does its increase in popularity have on individuals and society? As you can see, they did not mention anywhere the pronoun you, did they? Right? It's not mentioned. That means they're not asking for your opinion. They want to know why shopping is popular. So you will not discuss if shopping is popular or not. First of all, that is not allowed. You have to clearly state why is it shopping? Why is shopping popular? That's it. Okay. And the second thing, what are the effects that individuals and society? There are two mini questions here. First of all, effects that are there on individuals, and second of all, the effects that are there on society because of its increased popularity. You need to actually answer both of them. Both of these should be included in your answer. Okay. So, how do you phrase a multi part essay? First of all, make sure you recognize the questions, understand the question, read it very carefully, and then bring out the points that you need. Now, do not confuse it with the opinion or discussion essay. You will not state, I believe that, or in my opinion, shopping is not even popular. Anything like that is not allowed. It will decrease your task achievement score. So just answer what is given and state facts, something that can be read in a newspaper, something that can be read in a professionally written article, something like that. That is how your writing should be. Now, in this, you have to be to the point, and also when you are given two questions like these, right? First of all, they're asking why, and then what are the effects. In this case, first of all, give one body paragraph to this one and the second one to this. But while you're giving the second body paragraph to this, make sure you are including both of these points. Okay, and in many multi-part essays you will notice that there are hidden questions like this, when there each question has maybe one or two subparts. So you need to recognize them and then answer them. So reading the question from multi-part essays is very important, and then recognizing that this is not an opinion essay, this is not somewhere you can argue, or this is not somewhere you can just provide your own input or your own perspective. They demand a factual answer for such question types, thus, you will only give facts. Now, the next type of essays that we encounter in IELTS, also very common, are advantage disadvantage essays. You know, those where in which they ask, do you think there are any advantages to that? Do you think there are any disadvantages? Or how many advantages or disadvantages are to that? Anything like that. Whenever they're going to use the word pros or con, advantages, disadvantages, merits, demerits, it's this type of essay. Now, in this, the thing is, they can be framed in a number of ways. One of this is this. First of all, they'll give you background information, as always, such as international tourism has brought enormous benefits to many places. At the same time, there is a concern about its impact on local inhabitants and the environment. Do the disadvantages of international tourism outweigh the advantages? Now, in this, the way they have framed the question, do the disadvantages outweigh the advantages? They want you to answer it in a way that state that, do you agree that disadvantages are more than advantages, or is it vice versa? So they are asking for your opinion a little bit, but it is more focused on advantages and disadvantages part. Now, while you're doing this, first of all, carefully read how the question is framed, and it will impact on how you're actually going to answer your question. So, for example, in this question, they have asked outweigh the advantages. So, in that case, that means you need to state both the disadvantages and the advantages. Okay. If the question was, are there any disadvantages to tourism? In that case, you were only going to mention the disadvantages. If they said, do you think there are any advantages or disadvantages? In that case, you had complete freedom with what stance you had to take. So read the question very carefully when you're going for advantage disadvantage question, because they can be framed in hundred different ways, and you need to understand what the invigilator is expecting. If they're using words like compare the advantages with disadvantages, or if they're saying outweigh, does it outweigh or not? In that case, you need to mention both of them. In other cases, you can take a stance. You can go for 100% advantage or disadvantage thing. Now, while you're doing that, yeah, there are many disadvantages and there are very few advantages. Whatever side you pick, you should have more content in that, and not just like the one that we did before, where only one statement, like in discussion essays, you only one or two statements was enough to prove that this is your opinion. When you're talking about advantage disadvantages question and they're asking if it outweighs the other one, you need to make sure that there are more points in this, not the length of sentences, but more points, as in whatever you agree with should have 3 points and the other one should have 2 points. Okay, and this is compulsory, you cannot change it. Always make sure that whatever you agree with has one more point than the other one, and these 3 points should be excellent. They should be written really well, they should be explained in detail, there should be a good example in them, because this is the major crux of your essay. Okay, now while you are actually going to state this, as like we did before, you need to state if you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages in the introduction and in your conclusion. Not all and. You need to include it in both of them, and in the conclusion, whatever you are concluding with. Maybe you see that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. Mention it in brief, like in one or two words, that these are the reasons why disadvantages outweigh the advantages. That is how you are going to frame all your merit and demerit questions. Then the last question type is cause and solution essays. Cause and solution, as the name states, always state a problem, and then they're asking you for a cause of this and for the solutions of this. The solutions are definitely about your own opinion. They should be practical and they should be able to be implemented. But if you fail to actually give like a very specific answer, then you can also give a generic one, because in IELTS they're not testing your knowledge, they are more of testing your English language proficiency. Okay, so don't worry about these questions, they're kind of easy. So in these, you need to make sure that you are going to devote one paragraph to causes and one paragraph to solution. But the way you do it is very important. Let's take a look at a question and then answer this question. So question is, overpopulation in many urban areas around the world is a major problem. This is a background statement. They're talking about overpopulation and how big of a problem it is. What are the causes of it, and how do you think this problem can be solved? So they want to know the causes, they want to know the solutions. There are two very straightforward questions, so you're going to devote one passage to each of them. While you're answering the questions, make sure, okay, this is very important, whatever the causes of the solution you're going to give, causes of the problem you're going to give, the solution should solve these things. It is very important that they're linked together. Your causes should be in direct relevance to the solutions. If they are not related, as in your cause is something completely different from what you are trying to solve, you will not get a good grade. It is guaranteed. Whatever you state the problem is, it should be solved in your next passage very carefully. So while you're planning it out, you need to see if they are in direct relevance to each other. Then also, as I said before, no body paragraph needs to contain more than 2 points normally. So you don't really need a lot of causes or even solutions. Two are more than enough. You can include as many examples as you want to anyway. Though one example is a perfect way to do it. Always include a point, an explanation, an example, and then another point, and then end that paragraph there. So while you're doing that, you don't need to add like a list of causes and solutions. That is not what they're asking for. They want you to explain the cause, maybe one or two, and then explain the solution in depth, just one or two, and that is enough. You need to make sure that you develop them properly, as in you explain them properly, and that they are linked with each other really well. And then just make sure that in your conclusion, you are going to either state a recapitulation of how, if the solutions were not implemented, it was going to be end is going to end very badly for the planet or maybe for the country. Or you can even state an extra solution or your own opinion about what anyone else can do about it. Okay, so that is how you're going to write the conclusion for a cause and solution essay. Now, this was the end of your different types of question types in IELTS writing part 2, but there are certain things I want to mention here. First of all, remember that while you're reading the question, you read it very carefully and recognize the different aspects of it. You need to know if it's a agreement disagreement question, if it's a discussion question, if it's just something that they want facts over, okay, if it's a multi-facet question. So first of all, recognize what question type is it, what it is asking from you, and answer only that. As I've said before, if you answer something that is not asked in the question, you will not get a good grade. It will not be included. That whole part will not be included in your task at all. In fact, it will actually be detrimental to your score. The next part is cover all parts of the question. Do not leave anything out. As I said, do not add anything extra, but that also means you cannot leave anything out. If they're asking you two different questions, one for causes, one for solution, they want your essay to be divided in 50-50. 50% of it should cover causes and 50% of it should be about solutions. You cannot go by like you have written like 2 paragraphs about causes, but then only 3 or 4 sentences about solutions. That is not how it should be framed. You need to make sure that the content is 50-50 if the questions are given equal importance. Then read as you're reading the question very carefully, just like we did for advantages disadvantages question. You need to recognize certain words that are there. To what extent, why, suggest, decide, evaluate. Now all of these questions obviously are going to be answered differently. So if you're saying to what extent, in that case you need to see if it's an opinion essay or if it's an advantage disadvantage essay, and then you need to answer the question. If they're asking why, they're asking suggest, that means they're asking for your own opinion. If they're asking to decide, that is also your own opinion. If they're going to asking you to evaluate, that means you have to give both the opinions and then give your own opinion. So these words are really important, and you need to really know that what a specific question is asking, and what if you have to add your own bits into it, your own sentence into it or not. After that, express your position clearly. This is extremely important. Your introduction should include a part about what your own opinion is. If they're asking, especially if it is asking for your opinion, obviously for questions that don't ask you for your opinion, you don't have to include the sentence. But for every other type of question, you need to say that I believe there are more advantages than advantages to this, or I believe that these should be given more importance than others. Whatever your opinion is stated very clearly in word format as a part of introduction and conclusion. As if you don't do it, then it's not clear enough to the reader what your stand on that particular thing was. If it's not clear, then you fail the objective of the question. Last thing, whenever you're going to write a long essay, as you will in IELTS, you need to include certain examples with it, and you can also add certain experiences with it. But this is a very formal essay, so you cannot use many personal pronouns like he, she, it, I, me. These words are not really allowed in the essay. You can include them once or twice, but not too often. So while you're framing your essay and you're writing the example or a situation, you need to see that whatever you're writing is done in a very formal tone. You're not explaining something that happened to your mother or something that happened to your friend, but something in general. Even if it is something from your own experience, you can make it into a more generalized tone and then use it. Also, one thing that has been included as a myth in many of the for many of the students is that they actually make up different type of statistics and research proposals and they add that to their essay. That is completely not allowed. Do not add anything that is, you frame it as a fact, but that can be checked on Google in like 1 second by the invigilator and proven wrong. Don't add any numbers or specific research data, anything like that. Wrong. Do not take that risk. Just write a generalized example or situation. That is the best way to go. So this was the end of your lecture with me. I hope that you had a good time, and I'll see you at the same time next week with more information about IELTS Writing Task 2. Thank you. Have a good day.